Welcome to the Lunch and Learn video series, brought to you by the Gateway Down Syndrome Association. Today we welcome Katie Jones, Chief Program Officer of Organizational Employment and Advocacy at Boone Center, Incorporated, BCI. Katie will discuss employment options and opportunities for individuals with Down syndrome.
Yes, no, thank you very much for having me today and having the opportunity to share all the opportunities that we have at BCI. Little history about BCI. We were established in 1959. It was actually two moms, Jane Kreider and Margaret Holmes, that had loved ones with disabilities in their life, and they wanted something meaningful, purposeful for them to do. So we actually started as a small candle making company, and then through the years we've evolved. Really in 1990 is when we grew full-fledged into contract packaging. We're at our location here in St. Peter's as of 1996. And then in 2011, Lincoln County reached out to us and said, we'd love to have the opportunity that you guys share in St. Charles in our backyard as well. So in 2011, we started another location in Moscow Mills. And that was around the same time that we also started offering competitive employment services as well. And then in 2019, that's when we launched our Skills Center. So we were very excited. It's the first of a kind vocational training center specifically for people with disabilities. And we'll talk more about the ins and outs of that program a little bit later. And then just 3 years ago, we were also asked to provide competitive employment supports in Illinois. Not a lot of people are aware, but we have two great team members over there that are supporting competitive employment services in Illinois. And then 2024, we actually had an expansion on our Lincoln County facility. So that's allowed a lot of growth and opportunity in that area as well. But as you can see through our history, we are all things employment and want to support those that have that goal. So what drives us? Our mission is to inspire, develop, and support people with disabilities through a continuum of innovative employment opportunities. Our vision, our I praise values, we hold our values very, very dearly to us. Every morning, actually, at BCI, we start with a team huddle. So the entire company and all the locations gets together for 10 minutes, and it just assures that we're on the same page, what's going on for the day, what's going on for the week. But we focus on one of our key values every single week, and that is integrity, positivity, respect, accountability, innovation, service, and empathy, because those are what we want to guide us every single day. So we can get into what we call our continuum of employment opportunities. And essentially, these are the different programs that we offer to support people through their employment journey. Because as everyone knows, no two people are the same, and their journeys are not the same either. So this is our beautiful infographic that shows the different opportunities. The core is new to BCI. So down at the bottom where it says pre-employment, we just did a soft launch of that program this fall. So we are continuing to develop and grow pre-employment. And then you can see BCI packaging. That is what is done at the workshop at our St. Peter's and Lincoln County locations. We have 181 employees currently working in St. Peter's doing a variety of packaging assembly tasks. And then in Lincoln County, we have 40 employees doing the same. And that's under, in this infographic, what is shown as organizational employment. Unique term that is not always a transferable language to everybody. Organizational employment is actually a CARF term. So the Commission of Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. They're essentially an auditor. They ensure that we do our best practices. So many years ago, when we were coining the phrase of our workshop opportunity of employment, that's where the name organizational employment came from. And then we have our supports through competitive employment and vocational training, and that was the Skills Center that was mentioned in the timeline, and then support services. So there's a lot in that title, anywhere from benefits planning to transportation to supported employment, follow along. But this is our quick infographic that describes everything at a glance, and we can get into the specifics of each of the programs. Just to share with everybody some of the numbers of our different programs and our employment. This is for last fiscal year, but a little over 250 people are supported in our organizational employment. Our one-on-one job retention services for competitive employment. In 25, we supported 64 people. Benefits planning is huge and available to anybody, not just St. Charles, not just people with BCI. We really serve the greater St. Charles, St. Louis area, and even down in the Branson area. So annually, over 500 people reach out to these services because it's so important to ensure that we're navigating everything correctly. We do support people with transportation. BCI does not provide transportation ourselves, but we do have a transportation manager in-house who coordinates carpools for individuals. We do have 2 small transportation companies in St. Peter's, so coordinating those routes, and then a support to anybody in competitive employment who is in need of transportation. As probably most everybody knows, that is the #1 barrier to employment is the lack of transportation. So in comparison to this fiscal year 25 number for FY26, I know that we're close to 80 people that are currently being supported. Skills Center graduates, so that vocational training program, we on average support 30 to 35 individuals now a year through that. And then our summer work program, which is full-fledged right now. There's been some changes with eligibility through voc rehab this year, but in fiscal year 25, we supported over 80 individuals with the summer work program. So we're really proud to support a number of people through a variety of different employment programs. Getting into pre-employment, which, as I mentioned, it's the newest piece of our continuum. It is hands-on training for individuals that have little or maybe no experience work history. So for individuals right out of high school, and even those that, of any age that haven't had the opportunity to work or even volunteer yet, we want to support them in gaining those hard skills and soft skills to launch them to the next step of their employment path. So it's very individualized. Ratios are 1 to 4, max of 4 participants with 1 staff member. We wanted to make this program very intensive to really prepare an individual for employment. So this program runs Monday through Friday, 4 days a week, and they're 4-hour days. And I believe there's another slide that gets into this more. One of the other things was we wanted to build this for people so that it's not just the essential soft skills, But when they learn some of the hard skills, we wanted to apply those to a variety of different trades. So we currently have partnerships with a school district, with a veterans museum, and also with Marcy's Project. So the unique business partnerships that we have all allow different work opportunities. To participate in the pre-employment program, we do have criteria, and at this time we are asking that all the participants are independent with their self-care needs, that they are free from aggression. Some of the individuals that we support do have seizures, and we absolutely support them and encourage them with their employment goals. We just ask additional questions to make sure that we're supporting anyone with a diagnosis of seizures appropriately. And ultimately, we want to make sure that if you're participating in the pre-employment program, that you want to ultimately work and you want to be employed. Where it mentions DMH waiver eligibility, currently the program is funded through waivers through the Department of Mental Health. As the program grows, we hope we can additionally diversify that funding into additional support streams. As I mentioned, 3 different business sites right now, and we are looking to grow our next partner. We want to do a culinary partnership because it's been expressed from some of our participants. But the example here with the Mid-America Veterans Museum, which is in O'Fallon, the vocational tasks that they've been doing is greeting. There's some cleaning. You even get an opportunity when the weather is right to do landscaping, guest registration, and providing guided tours. With our school district partnership, it has been, working with the early childhood students, and we have been supporting the students, the teachers, through a variety of different tasks. There is our most recent graduating class. This photo was taken at our Lakeside location where pre-employment is located, and that is Lakeside 370 is where that location is. But again, the small ratios, so this was our max class size and our first cohort for pre-employment. So one of the additional unique things that we do with our pre-employment program is do evaluations throughout the program. So it's actually this feasibility evaluation checklist where we are measuring people on their skill sets during the initial assessment. And then we have a midpoint evaluation, and then in a completion of the program, to see where their growth has been. It's a very detailed evaluation list, rates 23 work behaviors across 3 different core domains, but it not only helps the team to support the individuals and knowing where their strengths or barriers are, but also provides insight to the individual participating in the program. And I should add as well, the length of time for pre-employment is very individualized. So it's not a set in stone 12 or 14 or 16 week course. It's when the person is ready to move on to the next step. So talking about the feasibility study assessment, there's 3 main areas of focus that we're watching and assessing the individual on. So it's the general productivity or the actual tasks per se, and then safety in the workplace, and then interpersonal behaviors. So those cues that the instructor is giving, what are the responses or the response times to those instructions? What's the response to change? I think that's a thing that a lot of us sometimes struggle with is, we're going to be in a work environment and your supervisor is going to give you directions or corrections. So making sure that we are working with the person, whether that is positive or negative feedback that you're getting, how do we appropriately receive that information and then move forward? The pre-employment process. So if anybody is interested or wants to find out more about the opportunity with the pre-employment program, you can go online to Boone Center's website, which is listed here, and then we'll call to schedule an interview, get to know you a little bit better, and do that assessment testing. And then we also work with the case managers to coordinate the funding for the program. With the pre-voc, and I'm interchanging pre-employment, pre-voc, they are the same. With the program, it can go up to 6 months if a person needs that length of time. We did have one individual that really after 6 weeks, they felt confident to move on to the next step. So again, very individualized. We have a strong curriculum, and as I mentioned earlier, it is Monday through Friday. So we're working hard 5 days a week to get that person towards their individualized employment goals. And then usually 3/4 of the way through, the vocational instructor and the individual and those that support them are then honing in on, okay, we've achieved this far. So what is the appropriate next steps to get that employment goal met? Is it competitive employment? For some, it could be working at the workshop as the next step. The ultimate goal of the program is competitive employment, though, and making sure that the funding and next steps are in place so there is minimal interruption to the transition to competitive employment and those supports. So to talk about organizational employment, another piece of our continuum, that is what is known as the workshop, or some people also call it facility employment. They are paid positions at BCI on our packaging work floor. Typically in St. Peter's, we have 16 to 18 different lines operating. Lincoln County, similar work, but they are smaller, so they usually have 4, maybe 5 lines running each day. A difference with Lincoln County is that they are an SQF facility, which means safe quality foods. So any food or medical grade packaging or customer work that we do is always done in Lincoln County. And a common question that is asked is, do I get a choice to work in St. Peter's versus Lincoln County? For those that are residents of Lincoln County, they work at our Lincoln County facility. If you are a resident of St. Charles or even St. Louis County, then you work at the St. Peter's location. For those that are in the Wentzville area, they get the choice to choose St. Peter's or Lincoln County. And that's just because Wentzville's right in the middle. And for some, Lincoln County is much closer and transportation is easier for them to work at that location. One of the great things about working in organizational employment is the additional supports and the structure to the day. We have a team of employment support specialists that are essentially case managers, so to say, for the employees on the work floor. They are working with the individuals to determine what their goals are, because each person chooses what their work goals should be. They are the ones that are working one-on-one on the work floor, teaching them new jobs, interacting with, again, achieving their goals. So if they need to interject in a situation to ensure soft skill goals are being met, they're that ultimate support to each of the employees. Additionally, on the work floor, there's then the supports by the supervisors. So the supervisors are leading each line, each job, and they are ensuring that the quality is met and that the quota for the day is met, in addition to supporting the employee. So again, a lot of supports to ensure that the employees are successful, that they're having fun at work, but they're also working hard at work. Our full time for organizational employment is a 29-hour work week. So that's Monday through Friday. We do offer part-time, and that is a minimum of 3 days a week, typically 18 hours a week. And that's to make the person eligible for all the benefits that every person at BCI receives. So your paid time off, your vision, dental insurance. Anybody who's working more than 32 hours a week is eligible for medical insurance. And then everybody has the benefit of a 403B retirement plan. In addition to the paid time off, PTO, or the vacation, holiday, and sick time. On our work floor, wanted to share a couple of slides of the different things that we do production-wise. And I'll be honest, typically we use this when we're talking to potential customers, but I thought it would be a valuable way to show just the different skill sets that people are working in, the machinery that we train people on how to utilize. So shrink wrapping is often done, pouch sealing, polybagging, that is done every day, if not on 2 lines a day. Steam shrink wrapping, fin sealing, labeling. This is the machine labeling, but that's also another task that a lot of employees do by hand. Pouch filling, done both in Lincoln County and St. Peters. Quality inspection and sorting. That is a big one, along with kitting, that we typically have at least 1 or 2 jobs of that running every single day. And then making display cases. That's my personal favorite job on our production floor, is taking a really large flat piece of cardboard and you're folding it like origami to make a display case, as you can see on the finished jet dry tabs. Palletizing is not mentioned here, but that's also another skill set where we have what we call simple pallet patterns. So when everything is finished being packaged and it's put in the shipper, it needs to go on a pallet. And our simple pallet patterns are just putting, the correct amount, quantity of boxes on each layer. And then we have complex pallet patterns, which it might be your first layer is 8 boxes go in one direction and 16 the other direction, and then every layer flip-flops. So I always joke that if you're really good at Legos, you're probably going to be good at the complex palletizing. But again, just a variety of different tasks. And our job here is to support the person in finding how many different tasks that they can be successful in achieving. It is a goal of working with a person and supporting them in whatever their individual goal is with competitive employment. So competitive employment means that you're competing for the job. So it's in the general workforce, pretty much anywhere outside of the walls of BCI. Earning the same pay, having the same opportunities and responsibilities and benefits of peers in that workplace. It always starts off talking with vocational rehabilitation, and they are the funders that support most of the competitive employment. And once that person gets that open case with voc rehab, then our team will sit down with the person and start discovery and exploration. So that is literally getting the interest of the person and then exploring those interests with the support of a staff person. Because sometimes what we think that we're interested in, when we actually try those jobs, that could be, it could change interest. So we want to make sure that we're exploring a lot of different opportunities before we find the right job match for that person. Once we find that job match, then it is doing job development. And we're going to work with the person to assist them in the resume, the interview, and then obtaining the job. And then we will support the person, coaching them while they're working at this new position. Our vocational training, also known as Skills Center, as I mentioned, first of its kind vocational training facility specifically for people with disabilities. Different in comparison to pre-employment in the sense that these are often mid-level competitive employment jobs, but similar to pre-employment, where we are meeting Monday through Friday for 4 to 5 hours a day, and we are learning soft and hard skills of the job. What's different with the outcome of vocational training is that we partner with businesses. And so when we're learning, we are learning exactly that business's model. So we have a great partnership. And one of our first partnerships with the Skills Center was with True Manufacturing. And so True, if anybody's unaware, they do refrigeration units from as small as your homes to schools, to the gas stations, to grocery stores. Most every refrigeration comes from True Manufacturing throughout the world. The partnership with True, they actually were able to provide us some of their equipment, and for a vocational training program, we're training in the equipment so that when the participants are done with the program, the goal is True Manufacturing then hires them. And we try to do that with all of our business partners so that the end goal results in employment for those that have gone through the program. 146 graduates placed into competitive employment since 2019, and I'm quite confident that was last year's numbers. The average starting wage for those that go in our voc training program is about $17.32 an hour. Job placement rate, 89%, which is a huge success. Huge kudos to the vocational instructors that really work closely with those business partners. So they're ensuring that everything expectation-wise from the business is being trained and transferred to the participants. And probably the most successful metric on here is the 87% job retention rate after 6 months, compared to those that would just walk off the street and work at a company. Retention rates are typically around 40%. So we're very proud that we check in and continue supporting the person even after they've secured the position, because us checking in and assisting even years afterwards, I believe really has a true positive impact on that job retention. And all of our programs are recognized through Missouri Department of Higher Education. This is some photos here of those working at True Manufacturing after they've completed the program. And then our support services, as I just mentioned, it's an acronym because we live in a world of many acronyms. Supported Employment Follow Along, or it's also called SEFA. That is that successful piece that ensures the person throughout their career is being supported. So for some people, it's as often as checking in once a week with them just to make sure everything's going okay. Others, it might be checking in just once a month. The team will go in if anybody's struggling with anything, But also I like to share the positive parts when somebody gets a promotion and hey, they need their instructor to come in and teach them the new aspects of the job because they've had a positive promotion and opportunity at work. And then with our Skill Center vocational training, these are some of the larger locations that we have partnered with. Actually, 2 weeks ago, we had our first cohort go through with Fort Zumwalt School District, and that was with the janitorial program that they have. Benefits planning, also under support services, to help individuals and families understand how work may affect public benefits, Social Security, Medicaid, SSI, SSDI, SSA. There is so much to it. I am thankful that we have Lamonte and Diana that can support people through especially transitioning from youth to adult, but also for those that are exploring jobs, the amount of money you're going to be making can drastically impact some of the benefits. So they, again, are a support to anybody, not just in the St. Louis area, and not just those that are part of BCI, but this team is a community support to anybody who needs assistance walking through, how do I fill out the Medicaid application? Or, I've received quite a large bill from Medicaid saying that I went over $30 one month. Can you help me walk through this process and how could we correct it? So there's been countless stories that they've really made a huge difference financially for individuals, just truly educating and walking them through a lot of different processes. And then, as I mentioned, summer work program is going on right now. So that is a 6-week paid summer work experience funded through vocational rehabilitation for students that are going into their senior year of high school. We have a variety of opportunities with libraries, grocery stores, school districts. The ambulance district was a fun one last year. BCI is not the only one that provides summer work experience. There are a good amount of other agencies that support individuals in this. I just strongly encourage anybody who has the opportunity to participate. It's very rewarding. It's a great starting point just to launch your hopefully long employment career. Gives you insight on what you like to do, what you don't like to do, and also a good baseline for identifying skill sets. And then unique to probably BCI is our inclusive manufacturing camp, which is for high school students. Don't have to be seniors, be freshmen, sophomore, juniors. It is a 4-week program in July. It is hosted this year at our Lakeside location. In Illinois, it's at Worldwide Technology. And then down in Branson area, we were having that camp with Red Monkey, which is a spice company. So the program is very STEM oriented. And it's not a paid program, but it is a camp that is very inclusive and just creates a lot of exposure to opportunity in learning different facets of an industry. So very excited to get this started in about 3 weeks. Why does BCI focus on employment? Why do individuals work? We know the benefits is have an identity to yourself. It helps support self-confidence, self-determination, and self-sufficiency. Increased physical and mental health benefits. I don't know which one I was going to lean towards the mental health benefits, but it is truly both. There's so much reward in being a part of a community, to be in part of a team. It just does, work is hard, and it's supposed to be hard because it's supposed to challenge you, but it's also rewarding when you're around a good group of individuals that can support you. There are barriers that I know individuals face with developmental disabilities, barriers as to why they can't work, why they don't want to work. We want to talk to you. We would like to meet you and understand your barriers, because there's a lot of reward in work, and sometimes individuals just need the right support to get them where they aim to be. So who funds BCI? We have Senate Bill 40 boards and Voc Rehab, Department of Elementary Secondary Education are some of our funders that allow us the opportunity to provide supports and services to individuals. Disability inclusion. Thank you again for listening today. And if you have any questions, comments, email's usually the fastest, but love to have anybody come to BCI and tour and just explore other opportunities. If they're curious, they've heard about us, and they want to do employment, they're just not sure where to start, I'm happy to help and walk alongside and assist how I can.
Thank you for your participation and for being part of a community that learns, connects, and grows together as we build brighter futures for individuals with Down syndrome and their families.